So let's just get down and dirty.
Okay. Do we want to talk about how amazing everybody is at the beginning or the end? End?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can just start then.
Yeah. So this is episode 6, and I'm Meara.
I'm Morgan.
Hope you guys missed us.
You didn't say the part.
What?
You didn't.
And we are...
Thank you.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And we are... Mysteriosities.
We're pretty good at that now.
Yeah.
I think
I didn't even have to look at you for that one.
We've kind of landed on you. You tend to do the and we are by yourself every single time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I kind of do my little whew.
Unlike the So We Gaming podcast where Alex never gets to say it.
Oh.
It's kind of sad.
R.I.P. his hopes and dreams.
Anyway,
so we're here.
We're here.
This is going to be the first episode that
is pretty up to date.
Yeah, that is just like you will be listening to this on maybe Monday.
Yeah, it should be tomorrow.
Unless you're like late or delayed or have other things to do with your time, which fair.
I'll get it done tonight.
No, I meant the people listening. You have no excuse. You're finishing the editing tonight.
Okay, fine.
But
yeah, I will.
But like people who are on the ball,
yeah,
will be listening to.
I know a lot of
24 hours after we have to record it.
A lot of our listeners are waiting.
Are they really?
Yeah, I've had multiple people contact me saying they're super excited for Monday.
That's so cute.
Yeah, we have fans.
We have like 5.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm so happy about it.
But seriously, anyway.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about y'all later, not now.
Yeah.
We'll hype you up at the end of the episode. Makes you have to keep listening to it.
Yeah.
If you want to hear us compliment you, you have to listen to the end. I'm going to pretend that the fast forward button doesn't exist.
Stay tuned. I do that every time. Stay tuned.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I swear it's every time.
All right. So we're going to jump in.
Let's just jump in.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the mysterious drowning of Natalie Wood.
Ooh.
And a lot about her life too, because it would be a pretty short episode if we just jumped into that, and because she deserves to have her whole life story told, not just that part.
Right.
So I went deep.
Nice. I love
into it, and my notes are.
And a lot of people, especially our generation, aren't as familiar with older movie stars, so to have some background would be good.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with old movie stars. I know you are.
I am, but
I'm not. I haven't seen any of her movies actually. I don't think. I mean, I think Miracle on 34th Street sounds really familiar, but that doesn't mean I watched it. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a classic Christmas movie.
Oh, is it Christmas? Okay, yeah. Has Christmas vibes.
She's like, she believes in Santa, but everybody's like, Santa's not real, but she's like, no, he is, and the dude ends up being Santa.
And you're like, oh my god, hi Santa.
It's so cute. But yeah, she was a child star in that one.
She was. So we're going to start a little bit with her childhood, and I'm going to warn you that my notes, I already told you, but I'm going to tell everybody, my notes are chaos. They're fully the most chaotic thing that's ever happened on this podcast.
Are you sure?
Because it was just kind of hard, so I have like it, split up into sections, and so I have like a career section, but it goes like all the way through, but then things happened. And then I have a social life section, but they all kind of like, they're like happening at the same time as each other.
There's some organization. That's all we need.
So like I'll be like, oh, this happened then, and then I'll be in the social life section being like, oh, and this happened then too. But
it's fine.
But it's fine. We'll figure it out at the end. It'll be all right.
Yeah, it'll make sense.
You guys you'll keep up. I think it'll be okay.
I'll try to rein you in too.
I don't need reined. That's offensive.
Okay. Whatever.
Okay. Anyways, so Natalie was the daughter of Russian immigrants.
Yeah.
And she was actually born Natalia Nikolaevna Zaharenko.
Oh, wow.
I looked that up. And I think I said it pretty smoothly. Even
That was
though nobody
really good.
complimented me. Thank
No,
you.
I was impressed.
And she was born on July 20th, 1938 in San Francisco, California. This won't surprise anybody, but I have 10 bullet points about astrological signs now.
Yes.
I'm going to read. So, Natalie was actually a Cancer Leo cusp, and I love cusps. Like, I just wish I was a cusp, but I'm not. Do you know what a cusp is?
Yeah, right
Okay.
on the
When
cusp.
when you're right when you're at the end of one sign near the beginning of the other, you can have
A cusp.
no, I was not going to say a cusp. You can have qualities of both of the sign that you are and the the sign that you're near as well. I don't think
At
you're
the
a cusp.
cusp?
Are you? You're not a cusp.
No.
Though you do have, what are you? Are you an Aquarius?
Yeah.
You do have some Pisces vibes though, so
Do I? What are
think-
my Pisces vibes?
I just think you have Pisces vibes.
What are they?
I mean, Pisces are like sensitive and like,
Oh.
I don't know. I just feel like
Are you
have
just going to
nice-
sit here
I
complimenting
just feel like you
me?
have nice little Pisces vibes
Oh,
a little
cute.
bit. I feel like I have Pisces vibes too, but I'm also not a cusp. So
Okay.
I wish I was more than anything, but I am not.
Alex
so.
is a cusp.
Is Alex a cusp? Have we discussed this?
I think so. Yeah.
When's your birthday again? 22nd October. Oh, so you're a
Libra.
Libra Scorpio cusp. Are you a Scorpio? Good. I was gonna say you don't have Scorpio vibes. Scorpios are crazy. I love Scorpios though, but y'all do be crazy.
Yeah. I know a few Scorpios.
And
they
they're all
are pretty
crazy. They are, and it's definitely.
But like in a good way. Kind
Sometimes.
of. Yeah,
Sometimes.
sometimes.
And I feel like October Scorpios and November Scorpios so different.
So different.
They're
yeah.
I don't know. It's a different vibe. Anyways, off topic. Anyways, so cusps. I love a cusp.
I
and
love a cusp.
She was a Cancer Leo cusp, which is called the cusp of oscillation.
Okay.
And the reason it's called that is because they're like opposite signs. Like, you know, on the color wheel, how there's like complementary colors.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're like opposite, like directly opposite of each other in like every way. They're ruled
Okay.
by different elements, planets, traits. They're not similar at all. And that's why it's called the cusp of oscillation, because those who are born under it tend to swing wildly from like one to the other because they're not the
Oh.
same. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So they're known for being witty, creative, ambitious, romantic, and expressive, but also they can be moody, they can be hypersensitive, proud, but they're born for the stage, and they're very capable of stealing the spotlight. It's very like social butterfly vibes. They're
Mhm.
very like cheerful, and they're very creative, and they're into the glamour, which
That's
has
for a movie
Natalie
star.
has Natalie Wood vibes written all over it.
Yeah.
They're also highly oriented towards family and love, which is also Natalie Wood vibes all over it, because she had 2 kids, a stepdaughter too, and family was very important to her. So it's just, she is a Cancer Leo cusp. She has all of those vibes.
Yep.
And
She encompasses the Cancer Leo vibe.
she is. And when I was looking more into the cusps, because I want to know more about astrology than I do, I'm just learning.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like look at them, and it, you know, all those things always have like famous people that have this.
Right.
She's the first one on the list.
Oh, nice.
She's the first one. She's got cusp vibes. Talk to the website about it if you disagree.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, she's got it. And that cusp also tends to be like strong personalities. They're like planners and thinkers. But by like the end of her career, she had a lot of autonomy over her career, and she like planned everything out for her family. She was very into schedules and like stuff like that. And that too is very Cancer Leo cusp. So yeah.
Sounds like me,
She-
though.
Yeah. But you know, other signs are like that too. But
Yeah.
she basically, she encompasses the cusp of oscillation. And I won't go any further into astrology than that because I don't want to be out of
Although we
control.
could.
Though I could. I always could.
Love it.
And so, what we're going to talk about next is her mother.
Okay. Was she crazy?
She was the first momager,
Okay.
I
okay.
swear.
So before Kris Jenner was
Yes.
Kris Jenner. Okay.
Yes. Her mother's name is Meara. She was born in Siberia, but she fled her native land during the Russian Revolution. And you know, you come to America and you want to succeed, you kind of have to be ambitious. You kind of see the way of life that there is. And when
the American dream.
Yeah, and when she saw kind of like the way life was portrayed in movies and the way that she was living, she was like, I want to live like that. I don't want to live like this. So she was like, I'm going to make my daughter a star.
Mm-hmm.
And actually the first time that Natalie was on film, and you're going to have to tell me if this was Miracle on 34th Street or not, because it wasn't clear when I was reading it, but there was like a movie shooting where they lived, and so people were like on the streets like watching them film, and they were like, we need a little girl, and they like saw Natalie and they were like, okay, can she have this ice cream and then walk across the street and drop it and start crying? And her mom was like, yes, she can do that. Was that Miracle on 34th Street?
I don't remember that in there.
Okay, so then maybe her first role, that was just a small little...
It's been a long time since
I've
I've seen that one.
It's a small little piece in that role. So she had an ice cream, she walked across the street, it dropped, she cried, and that was technically the first time that she was in a movie.
Nice.
And after that, the momagering began.
Uh-oh.
So she arranged an introduction with the director named, his last name was Pitchell.
Okay.
She said to her, she was like, make Mr. Pitchell love you. And she like had her sit on his lap, and like she was really trying to like ham it up, you know what I mean?
Right.
And Pitchell warned her, like warned Meara. He was like, don't push your daughter into this industry. It's not a good industry for children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not a good idea.
But she's like, I don't care.
She was like, no, let's all move to Hollywood. So they moved to LA. And she started her child acting career. And her mother, it's not great. We're going to tell a story. So there's this one time that she had to cry in a scene, and she couldn't cry on command. So her mom pulled her aside and tore a live butterfly apart in front of her.
Oh my God.
And then Natalie started sobbing hysterically because
her mom's a psycho.
She just saw a butterfly get killed. And so then, you know, she was crying in the take like she was supposed to, because she was crying about a butterfly who was killed. And
jeez.
And Meara did stuff like that over the course of her career at the beginning, like would like bring up their dead dog, or like tell stories about animal cruelty, and just like really upset her before a scene.
They needed those Sarah McLachlan ASPCA
yeah
commercials.
And just put those on maybe, and then you don't have to tear apart butterflies. Just put a little TV screen up there.
Oh man.
Get that music going, and we don't have to have more animal cruelty.
That's crazy.
So yeah, she...
Wow. It's kind of bitchy.
She didn't... kind of bitchy. A little bit of an understatement.
Also, can I just say that it keeps throwing me off when you say Meara, because Natalie Wood plays Meara in West Side Story.
Well, we got a while until we get to West Side Story. Though her mom gets less relevant as she gets older and has more control over her own career, in theory, because that's a whole other story we'll get into. But back then, the studio had control of your career way more than you did. But basically, just through, you know, animal cruelty and other means, the actress became so precise that she was known as One Take Natalie, because she just always wanted to like please people and like do her job correctly.
She probably didn't want her mom killing more than one butterfly.
Literally. So she was literally known as One Take Natalie, and just was very easy to work with because she always like delivered. But why did she deliver? Is because of
psychological damage.
Like literally, like actual damaging behavior. But okay, she
God, that's crazy.
So not only that, her mom also pressured her at a lot of times to take roles. She also pressured her, allegedly, to entertain much older Hollywood VIPs, which is asking for trouble.
Yeah.
And those closest to Wood could see the toll that her mother's incessant instructions had on her, even as she got older. Like, they could see it.
Yeah.
And she tried to hide it, and she was good at acting, so she could hide it to an extent, but you could still see that it was damaging, because obviously I have so many links to like biographies and stuff like that, because there's so much. But
oh yeah, I bet.
in a biography about Natalie Wood that her sister wrote. She said Natasha, which was Natalie's nickname, was a natural when she performed, but she was not movie struck. Meara was the one stalking movie crews, seeking parts for herself, and Natasha just went along. So it wasn't even necessarily at the start like Natalie wanted to be an actress. She was good at it. She was like a natural at it, but it was really her mom that was like, no, yeah, we're doing this. And she went like all in on it. And Natalie was just like, okay. So now we're going to start talking about her career. And this is where my notes get chaotic. So I'm already skipping ahead on how I did it and doing it in a different order because I think it makes more sense. So her first role was at the age of 4 in Happy Land. So I guess I lied to you when I called it Miracle on 34th Street. But Happy Land might be what I was telling you about. Yeah. And it was just a small little part. But her first starring role was Miracle on 34th Street in 1947. And it was the film that was considered to be the one that made her a star. But, you know, sometimes you're on set and bad things happen.
Uh-oh.
So when she was on set of a movie, which I forgot to write the name down of and then looked up and told myself I'd remember and then forgot, Green Promise.
Okay.
She was 9 years old, and by 9, she was already terrified of drowning because a fortune teller told her mother that somebody in the family would die by drowning. Oh, so her mom was terrified of drowning, and that passed down to Natalie, who was also terrified of drowning. She refused to learn how to swim. She didn't like to be near water. She didn't even like to have her head submerged when she was having her hair washed. Like, she did not like water.
Oh, wow.
And on this movie set, she had to run across a bridge, and then it would collapse when she was on the other side of it. But it collapsed while she was on it.
Oh, no.
So she broke her wrist and almost drowned, and
oh my god.
And it just strengthened her fear of water.
Well, yeah.
And her mother, do you want to know what she said?
Oh god.
She said, I see you hurt your wrist. Don't tell anybody about that. What if they don't let you finish the movie?
Mommy dearest over here.
So that was her broken wrist was never treated. And so for the rest of her life, she wore like really chunky bracelets on her wrist because she literally had a bone that would like protrude out that she was self-conscious about. So she literally wore chunky bracelets. You can look at pictures of her for the rest of her life because that bone was just protruded. Just healed.
Jeez.
Not healed, but you know when you don't get it
healed incorrectly.
Yeah, it just like healed incorrectly and just wore bracelets for the rest of her life because it never got fixed.
Wow.
And now we're going to talk about Rebel Without a Cause.
Okay.
And I've
seen that one.
That you've seen that one.
Yeah.
That one came out in 1955, and she played the girlfriend of a troubled outsider played by James Dean. Yes. And I do think this was a little bit questionable. She was like 17 at the time, and he was 24.
Okay.
Is it a spicy movie?
Not that I remember. Not like super spicy.
Okay. Well, that's good at least, because that's kind of like a little questionable now. Hopefully we wouldn't do that now, but I don't know. Hollywood's wild, so
yeah,
maybe we would. But she did get an Academy Award nomination for it.
Yeah.
But she wasn't necessarily the one that was going to get the part. So they were looking everywhere for who was going to be Judy. That is her name, right?
Right, yeah.
She was a choice, but they were hesitant to cast her just because she was a child star. So she was just known as like this innocent, like, that was her reputation, like just an innocent child star.
Right.
And they were worried. They were like, no, I don't know if that's going to work.
With the vibes that they wanted.
The vibes of that movie. But she actually got in a car crash she was on a drunken night out with a guy named Dennis Hopper, and she got into a car crash.
Dennis Hopper.
Are you just going to know these people?
He's an actor. He's a famous actor.
Okay, I don't know anybody, so.
Okay. Well, he's a famous actor.
The director of the movie came to visit her in the hospital, and the doctor called her a juvenile delinquent.
Oh.
And she said to him, did you hear what he just called me, Nick? He called me a goddamn juvenile delinquent. Now do I get the part? Because you're like, you think I'm an innocent child star,
right.
Like, hi? Like,
kind of like when Miley, like, went a little crazy so that she could get out of the Hannah Montana stage.
That's very fair.
You know?
And so Ray wrote a memo to Warner Brothers that read, We just spent 3 days testing 32 kids. There's only one girl who has shown the capacity to play Judy, and she is Natalie Wood.
Yeah, go Natalie.
She went and got that part, but also on that movie, so that director, the one who wrote that memo, was 42, and it is said that they had a sexual liaison.
Oh, snap.
After that.
That is very illegal.
16, so.
Wow.
I don't know if that's fully
her mom was
verified.
Probably like pressuring it too. Like
she was.
Oh, you know, just satisfy his every need.
And I have more on that, but my notes are chaotic, so I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to say these things and just scrolling around. It's really fun, and I might actually say it now.
Okay.
So, because she was 16 when she was cast in that movie, and this happened when she was 16 too, so I'm scrolling down. When she was 16 years old, actually, trigger warning, we're going to be talking about sexual assault. So, skip ahead. If you would like to skip ahead, that's very valid of you.
We'll put timestamps in the description too.
Yes. She was called up to a hotel suite where she was brutally assaulted by a powerful married movie star that was 20 years older than her.
Jeez.
And
does it say who?
I'll get to that at the end.
Okay.
Her mom was like drove her to this hotel. Her younger sister was like asleep in the car, and like they were waiting for her like at this hotel.
Okay.
And she came out very upset, obviously, but they never reported it, and the attack remained a secret. But the details differ, but I wrote differ, depending on who she spoke to, because she told a couple of friends about it later on.
Mm-hmm.
But the essence was the same, that the married film star tricked Natalie and raped her so brutally that she was physically injured and was too intimidated to report it to the police. And so it just remained a secret, and her sister Lana like confirmed it later on. She was like interviewed. She also has a book, I think, or she has a podcast, but I'll talk about that later. But she confirmed it, and she confirmed some details, including where it happened, which is at the Chateau Marmont Hotel.
Okay. It's a pretty popular one.
And the perpetrator was never named, but rumors heavily implicate a man who I don't know if I should say, because I don't want to be sued by his family. But he's dead now, so it's probably fine, right?
Yeah, this is just alleged. We don't necessarily believe this, but who is it?
I mean, I don't know if you'll know him, but you know everybody. Kirk Douglas.
Oh, shit. Yeah, okay. That's Michael Douglas's dad.
Oh, so is he going to sue us?
No.
Okay. But he was named so heavily that when he died in 2020, Natalie Wood trended on Twitter. So
oh, wow.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
The vibe of those tweets were like...
He was a huge actor. Like...
Was he?
I feel like he was in, like, Ben-Hur, one of those, like, big epic movies.
Well, you know everything about stuff like that. I only know what I have on my little phony phone.
I'm a movie buff.
You are. But, yeah, so that happened when she was 16. Never reported. And now we're scrolling back up. Because, like I said, chaos. But we're rolling with it. She was also cast in a 1956 Western called The Searchers. Have you heard of The Searchers?
No.
Searchers seemed kind of problematic. So I'm not really going to talk about it. But, like, the plot of that movie... Didn't love it. It was about Native Americans kidnapping a white girl.
That was a big thing back
in the 50s. And the dad has to like try to find her. And I don't know.
I mean, that was a total like Hollywood theme for Westerns back in the day. Like it was always the Native Americans capturing the white people.
Yeah, and it had big like you know. The dad was like coming to save her, so it had big vibes of like, oh yeah, he's coming to, like, this is totally justified. He's coming to save his daughter. I don't know. Right. Didn't love it, but she actually didn't really want to do that movie, and she thought she was miscast in it. But like I said earlier, back then, the studio like owned you basically. Yeah. You didn't pick your movies. They said you're doing this movie. You're doing this movie. Mm-hmm. like went down to like dating usually was the studio setting people up for publicity. Like,
Oh, wow.
they had control of like every aspect of your life. So we are going to move forward again. I'm really keeping track of my chaotic notes right now. And we're going to zoop over to a little more kind of inappropriate shit that came out later.
Okay.
So Frank Sinatra's personal valet released a memoir called My Life with Frank Sinatra. And he spoke about an affair that he had with Natalie Wood when she was 15 or 16.
Well,
and he was
Frank
40.
Sinatra was he was known to be a ladies' man. He was a philanderer for sure.
Yeah, he was like 40 at the time and she was like 16.
Yeah.
So this is all kind of stuff happening around the same time. Like
Yeah.
Rebel Without a Cause, her rape, and this Frank Sinatra situation. He apparently took a liking to her since he saw her on Miracle on 34th Street.
Which is really freaking creepy.
I wrote, when she was 9, by the way.
That's so weird. Okay.
Because that's a little bit... Her mother took her to his apartment when she was in her teens, and the valet said, insanely ambitious Russian mother had pushed her on Frank, who needed no pushing himself. She had her kid all dolled up, total jailbait, in a form-fitting black party dress, and Mr. S went for it in a big way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And afterwards, Natalie became coming over for singing lessons, and the valet was always sent away during the singing lessons, with Sinatra joking, I don't want you to testify.
Oh, my God.
So, and this affair
such
allegedly...
skeezy people.
I know, I don't like it. And this affair allegedly lasted on and off until she was over the age of consent, so for a couple years. And then she met Robert Wagner, which is a man that you also know.
Yeah.
Very impressive. They first got together in 1956, and it allegedly was set up by the studios as a way to promote the 18-year-old actress and the 26-year-old actor. But feelings became real, and they married a year later on December 28th, 1957.
Okay.
When she had first met him, she was 10, and he was 18. And she said, I first saw him walking down the hall at 20th Century Fox. I turned to my mother and said, I'm going to marry him.
Aww.
And then she did.
That's so cute.
I know, it is pretty cute if you're into that, depending on how you feel about him by the end of the story.
Right.
My opinions are less great. But we'll see where you end up. So the problem with their marriage, there were said to be challenges because of Natalie's success. I mean, in 2022, there are men that are like, oh, my wife gets paid more than me. Like, oh, she's more successful than me.
Right.
Like, can you imagine being both in the film industry in the 50s,
right,
and your wife is more successful than you? He was considered a good actor. Like serviceable, like he was good at his job, but you didn't go to the movies to see Robert Wagner. Okay. You didn't say, "Oh, Robert Wagner's in this movie, I'm gonna go see it." He was just good.
Yeah,
he wasn't bad. He was.
But
just,
you did that for Natalie.
You went to see Natalie Wood movies, but you did not go to see Robert Wagner movies. Right. So that caused some issues, and he was also extremely jealous. Okay. Like extremely jealous. And we're gonna, if I ever call him RJ, it's because that's his nickname.
Okay.
I listened to some podcasts, and people who knew him always called him RJ. So I wrote it down then. So if you just hear me say it, that's his nickname. Okay. So,
that works for me.
Have you seen or heard of Splendor in the Grass?
Yeah. But I haven't seen it. I've heard of it.
Well, Natalie starred in that movie with Warren Beatty. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning of the movie, they didn't really have that much chemistry. It was like, yeah. But something clicked along the way, and they had some chemistry. Like, they were having some realistic, spicy makeouts, and they would come to set, his arm would be around her, and they were getting along, you know? And Robert
Things got heated.
became aware of that, and he didn't love it.
Yeah.
He became so jealous that there was one time he showed up outside of Beatty's home with a gun.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, he's like, I'm gonna do this, but then he didn't. But that's how jealous he was getting. He was getting wild about it, like it was consuming him. And he wrote an autobiography, and that's how you know about this gun thing, because he admitted it. He said,
"Oh, Robert Wagner did."
Yeah, he said,
Okay.
I was pretty young, and I don't think I could have gone through with it, but I was pretty frustrated and upset. Beatty was the man. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a little bit sus to be that jealous. Like, you're an actor too, so you should especially understand.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Chemistry on a movie is not like, that's your job. You're doing a job. Like,
that's where it would be tough to, like, be an actor or whatever, because you do have to realize that that's what they're doing for their job, and you just gotta let it go.
Yeah, but I almost feel like you should be more okay with it if it's also your job, because in theory you would be doing the same thing too. Like,
but it's different for a man.
It's always different for fucking men. Cameron told me to be less political, but I will still be the way that I am. Anyways, so they called it quits in 1961.
Okay.
And their divorce finalized in 1962.
I thought they were married when she died.
We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
So they divorced in 1962, and for years it was the rumor that the marriage failed because she was having an affair with Warren Beatty.
Okay.
But that's actually not true. It was actually Natalie that caught RJ having sex with his butler.
A man butler?
Yeah, a man butler.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So in her unreleased memoir, she wrote, "It's too painful for me to recall in print the incident that led to the final breakup. It was more than a final straw. It was reality crushing the fragile web of romantic fantasies with sledgehammer force." Which also, what a writer.
Yeah.
All the quotes I saw about her unreleased memoir, I'm like, girl, you got some skills with the pen. Like, I'm sorry. Crushing the fragile web of romantic fantasies with sledgehammer force. That's a sentence.
That is. That sounds like a song.
That's a fucking sentence. So, yeah, they divorced. And then she did start dating Warren Beatty.
Okay.
But it is said that they did not do anything while she was married.
Right.
They did start dating after. And it was toxic with a capital T.
Oh boy.
Natalie said, "Our affair was a collision from start to finish. It was just never really meant to be long term. She was upset about her marriage. I think I read..."
Rebound.
Yeah, and I think I read that he was upset because the woman he loved, like, moved to England. So it wasn't, they were both, like,
they were very
missing
vulnerable.
something up. Yeah, missing somebody else, and just,
Yeah.
It was pretty toxic. They wound each other up. He wound her up. She wound him up. It was a lot. And so then they broke up in 1964. And she dated a lot of famous men, including Michael Caine and Ladislav Blatnik, which was the shoe king of Venezuela.
Oh,
who I did think I read that they were engaged at one point, but didn't go through. And then, in 1969, she married Richard Gregson, which was a British producer.
Okay, yeah, I don't know him.
And they got married on May 30th, and they had lots of fun parties while they were married, lots of glitz and glamour. He seemed to be like a pretty solid dude. Like, they had a child together. Her name is Natasha.
Oh. And
she was born on September 29th in 1970. But then they got divorced in 1972 when he cheated on her.
Oh.
So we're sensing a theme with men.
Yep.
And infidelity. Keep it in your pants. Anyways, apparently she overheard him having an inappropriate conversation on the phone with his secretary.
Oh. So, before sexting was a thing.
Yeah, you had to say it out loud and then people can overhear you. It's not as, it's not as subtle as Snapchat.
Yeah. There you go.
So,
Snapchat.
they got divorced. And then she remarried Richard Wagner within 3 months.
That doesn't make sense.
What do you mean?
Why would she remarry him?
Because they loved each other. Actually, it was really interesting is her sister said when they found out about them getting back together, she was invited over for dinner. Her mom was invited over for dinner.
Yeah.
And RJ walked in. She was like, we're getting remarried. We're like getting back together. And her sister was like, why?
Yeah.
And she basically was like, isn't it better to have the devil you know than the devil you don't?
Oh, wow.
And her sister was like, I wish you just would have said, like, I missed him. I love him so much. We want to get back together. Not the devil you know, not the devil you don't. But
those words, very wise.
Anyways, all of these quotes, by the way, from her sister are from a podcast, like a 12-part series about Natalie Wood's life and death. And I listened to like 8 episodes yesterday because they're kind of short. They're just like 20-minute episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to listen to them until I mostly had my research done because I didn't want it to like skew what I was doing. But then I was like curious. So I don't want to quote it too much because I feel like if you're interested, you should listen to it. It's very good. It has so many interviews. It has interviews with her sister. It has interviews with the captain that was on the boat the night she died. Like, it's very good. So I'm going to link it if you want, like, all the deets. I only reference it a couple times simply because I feel like listen to it if you want to know more. But, yeah, it's called The Mysterious Death of Natalie Wood.
Nice. I'll have to look that up.
It's very good. But, yeah. So they got remarried in 1972. And then they had a child in 1974, and her name was Courtney. So she had Natasha with her marriage with Gregson, yes. Richard.
I'm proud I remembered that. Proud of myself.
And then she had a daughter with RJ named Courtney.
Okay.
And then also, while RJ and Natalie were like divorced, he got remarried too. So then he had another daughter named Katie from his marriage while they were separated. So she ended up having 2 daughters and a stepdaughter.
Gotcha.
Anywho. So that was me basically going all the way through her social life. So this is where the notes get kind of chaotic because I'm going to go back to her career and some of that was happening while all that was happening. But I'll try to like link it up so that you know what's going on. So West Side Story was another one of her popular movies.
She played Meara.
Yes, that came out.
I almost sang it, but I was like, no, it's fine.
That actually came out in like 1961. Like back when Splendor in the Grass came out, which was the Warren Beatty movie.
Right.
So that was kind of happening around when things were going downhill with RJ. And she was actually one of the first actresses in the studio system to like demand control over her film selection. She wanted equal pay with male co-stars, profit participation. She was slaying. She was doing
good for her.
And she worked, like I said earlier, during an era where studios had full ownership over careers. So she didn't always have a choice in the roles that she took on. But when she got older and more successful, she began to fight back and be like, no, I don't want to do that movie. No, I don't want to do that movie either. In 1959, so again, we're back in time because chaos.
She's paving the way for future actresses.
Yeah, she refused roles in The Miracle and A Summer Place, and she refused to show up on set for a movie called The Young Philadelphians, just like proving a point. Like, no, you can say I'm in this movie, but I'm not in the movie if I don't show up.
Wow.
So back then, she got suspended for like 18 months by Warner Brothers, being like, if you're not going to work for us, you're not going to work for anybody.
Wow.
Which is not word for word what they said. That's what she said in an interview later. She took that as, you're under contract with us, so you can't work for anybody else, but we're suspending you, so you can't work for us either.
Yeah.
And then in the 60s, and for, context on time, 60s was like, she divorced RJ in 62, and she remarried in 69. So the 60s, she was like, having like some spicy affairs and like stuff like that.
She's just living her life.
Yeah, but in that time, a lot of her films flopped too. There was one called Sex and the Single Girl and the Great Race. Didn't go well. She was even awarded Harvard Lampoon's Worst Actress of the Year in the 60s.
Aww.
So it was not a great time for her. It put her in a bad state mentally, emotionally. There was a point where she refused to see anybody but her psychiatrist and a former secretary. Wasn't great, but things started turning around. Obviously in the 70s, that's when she had her daughter and then remarried RJ and
Right.
had another daughter. So things were, you know, turning around. But around when she had her kids was sort of when she took, oh no, I know I skipped something. I'm going to have to take a sip of my root beer and reassess my chaotic notes.
You're like, oh no, I forgot.
Oh no, I remembered. But before we get into the 70s fully, I wanted to talk about her suicide attempt.
Oh no.
So trigger warning, suicide attempt. And that was in 1966. So again, the 60s were rough. That's when this is after she divorced RJ, before she remarried. And in 1966, Warren Beatty showed up. And he tried to convince her to join his movie. And she was like, no, I'm not going to. Because seeing her therapist was really important to her. It was in like every contract of every movie that she was in. Like she needed time set aside that they had to let her go.
Yeah.
And like see her
Smart.
therapist. And that movie was in Texas, and so she was like, I'm not doing that. Like,
yeah.
I can't see my therapist if I'm in Texas. So no one knows exactly how that exchange went, but when he left, she attempted suicide by swallowing a handful of sleeping pills.
Oh no.
But at some point, it seemed like she got scared and changed her mind because she called for her housemate, Mart Crawley, and when he found her unconscious, he took her to the hospital, and her stomach was pumped. And her sister visited her, and she said, I didn't want to live anymore. Now I do. So after that, she took a 3-year break, and she was not in any movies from 66 to 69. She was like
Focusing on
herself.
Good.
And that's what she said when she came back. Interviews would be like, where were you? And she was like, I was focusing on me.
Sometimes that's what you gotta do.
So, now that's in there. So
Mental health is important.
it is important. So I think we hit most all of the,
Important bits.
you kind of got, I was chaotic like I warned you, but you got the gist.
Yeah. I thought it was good.
Of her career and stuff. So now we're kind of going to get into,
The deets.
the deets. So, like I already said, I don't know if Alex heard me because he was asleep, but she remarried RJ in 1972, had a child in 74, and by that point, she kind of took a little bit of a break, and that she was focusing on her family and motherhood. So even after she took her 3-year break, she came back a little bit, but she definitely was slowing down. She wasn't it wasn't her number one focus.
Yeah.
There were things that were important to her. And so she was slowing it down a little bit, but she was trying to get back into it. You know how in the first marriage with RJ, it was kind of awkward because she was more successful than him.
Yeah.
Okay. In their second marriage, he had turned to television. So he was kind of like making a name for himself a little bit too. He was like making $10,000 an episode on the show he was on. Even just scrolling through, it's like mostly TV by the 70s. So he was kind of making a name for himself in TV. He was way more successful during their second marriage than their first, especially because she'd taken her 3-year break and now she was slowing down because she wanted to be home with her kids and her family and focusing on her marriage. But she did want to get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was cast in a movie, and she was cast with Christopher Walken. And that brought up RJ's jealousy streak again.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, he's a jealous man. So she was getting back into it, and it was like, oh, maybe she's going to, jump back up to fame, and he's feeling like he's doing pretty good for himself, and it's possible he was feeling like he wouldn't be feeling himself quite so much if his wife was successful again.
Right.
And also he's jealous. So
Yeah.
it's a little awkward because do you know who was on the boat when she died?
Christopher Walken.
Yeah, he was invited on that trip. So
yeah.
it was like a Thanksgiving trip, and it's actually really sad because her daughter like begged her not to go. And I don't know if she had like a bad feeling.
Oh, wow.
But she did not want her to go. The weather was really bad. It was not like...
Well, it goes back to that fortune teller, too.
Yeah, and it was not the vibe for like wanting to go out in the water. And I think even the captain said, he was like, it's not the right... It's like not good weather.
Right.
Like, why is this what you guys want to do? And Natalie said to her daughter, like, you made your plans for Thanksgiving. Like, we made ours. Like, we're going. So they went to Catalina Island to spend Thanksgiving, a little Thanksgiving trip on their yacht, Splendor. I think it's a little awkward that it's called Splendor
Like
because Splendor in the Grass was a movie that had Warren Beatty that caused their divorce, basically. But I mean, I'm assuming that's not
right
connected, but I kind of thought that was a little bit weird. But on their trip, you know, vibes were a little bit awkward because Christopher Walken was there, and RJ's a jealous dude. And Natalie and RJ got into a fight the night before her death on the boat to the point that she asked the captain to take her ashore, and she stayed at a motel on Catalina Island instead of staying on the boat. So
she came back?
Well, okay, so like Catalina Island is off of the coast of California.
Okay.
And so they had the boat that you could be vibing on the water.
Right.
But then there's the island. So she just went to the island and stayed at a hotel.
Okay.
It's like the rich and famous back then, and I think kind of now still go to Catalina Island to kind of get away. It's got like bars and, you know, hotels, and it's just like a little vibey area. So she went and stayed the night at a hotel instead of staying on the boat the night before she died. Well, the next day they came back to the boat and they made breakfast and like kind of trying to move on from the night before. And then we're at the night of.
Uh-oh.
So what happened was they were kind of having a boozy night on Catalina Island. They were like, they went out to dinner, had some drinks, and they stumbled their way back to the boat about 10:30. And about half an hour later, the group noticed that Wood had disappeared, and the dinghy was gone.
The dinghy.
I love the word dinghy. I thought you were going to comment on that. I'm glad that you did. And I will say, I'm telling this as it was told, and then we're going to get into things that like were said afterwards. So this is just when it happened. Okay. Everything that the police was told. So she disappeared. The dinghy was gone. But the Coast Guard wasn't called for 4 hours. And her body was found at 8 a.m. a mile away from the yacht. She was wearing a flannel nightgown, a down jacket, and socks. And it was discovered during the autopsy that her blood alcohol content was 0.14%, and she had several bruises. And that prompted the ME's office to declare on November 30th that the death was an accident, with her likely falling overboard while trying to get onto the dinghy. It was said that she was trying to leave the boat to go back to Catalina like she had the night before.
Right.
Because Wagner was mad because he thought that she was flirting with Christopher Walken.
Then why did you invite him in the first place?
I don't know.
It's like just asking for trouble.
I know. So Wagner was like, yeah, she probably meant to take the dinghy back to shore, and she slipped and fell overboard. And that was that. The case closed on December 11th.
But isn't that so weird, though, that she would want to take the dinghy back because she's afraid of water?
Thank you.
Okay.
And what did she do the night before?
She called the
captain took her back to shore. She didn't try to go in a dinghy by herself.
Right.
She had him take her.
But then people were like, oh, she was drunk.
Yeah, but she hated water.
I know. That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense.
And it's November, and why is she just in a nightgown and a coat and socks going back to shore with no shoes on?
Right. Interesting.
Does that make sense?
That does not make sense.
But the case was closed on December 11th. It was done, so it was closed. So now we're going to talk about everything that happened afterwards.
Okay.
So for years and years and years, obviously, it was closed, but in 2011, it was reopened.
Oh.
Because they received additional information from unidentified sources who contacted the authorities. So now,
Walken?
No.
Oh, okay.
Now we're going to talk about Dennis Davern.
Okay.
That's the captain.
Oh, okay.
So at the time, he went with this. Everyone went with the story. She disappeared. Dingy was gone. She probably fell overboard. But in 2011, he was ready to talk about some stuff.
Okay.
So he stated that he had lied during his first investigation, and he heard RJ and Natalie getting into a heated argument, and he thought that RJ pushed her off the boat. He thought that it was him. It was not an accident. He said that the night of that dinner, like that night when they went out to have their little boozy dinner, that Natalie and Christopher Walken were at the restaurant for hours before RJ showed up. He was mad. And then employees at that restaurant said either Wagner or Walken threw a glass at the wall.
Oh, shit.
At some point at that restaurant. And so, tensions were high. And then they went back to the boat. And then Davern said at one point, RJ broke a wine bottle over the table and screamed at Walken, "Are you trying to fuck my wife?"
Oh. Well, just get right down to it.
Yeah, we're not
playing around here.
We're not playing around here on this
There's no
day.
dilly-dallying.
No, we're not saying hello. What are your intentions? It's like, no, are you trying to fuck my wife?
After he broke a wine bottle, and I'm just like picturing him holding it, like
Literally.
gonna freaking
like people trying to
shank him.
like when they break beer bottles at bars.
Yeah,
and they're like me. But then Davern said Christopher Walken went back to his cabin.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm not actually trying to be involved in this. I'm going to go back to my cabin.
All right.
And that's the last time that he saw Davern that night. So he just went back to his room. And he said that Wagner and Wood continued to fight. They went back to their room and continued to fight. And then, most ominously, this is the most ominous part, Davern said the fight moved back onto the deck and then everything went silent.
Oh, that's eerie. That like gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Right. So then Davern went out to check on them, and Wagner apparently said, "Natalie's missing." Interesting, because you're fighting with her like
pushed her off the damn boat.
What do you mean missing? But he didn't want to turn on the boat's floodlights to see if they could see her, and he didn't want to call for help because he didn't want to draw attention to the situation. And just in case you're thinking to yourself, well, how do you know that Davern is telling the truth? I am going to say that in 2017, he had an interview with Megyn Kelly, and he said that afterwards, after he told them all this, he took a polygraph test and passed with flying colors, allegedly. And I mean, polygraph tests are what they are. They're, not the most reliable thing in the world. Don't really know why they still exist, but he did pass the polygraph test, so, kind of, makes it seem like... And what does he have... Like, why would he lie about that?
Right.
There's
no point. There's nothing for him to gain from it.
Exactly. And then there's another witness.
Oh.
And her name is Marilyn Wayne. And apparently she was like 80 feet away. And I couldn't find if she was like on another boat or if they were like close enough to shore that she was like on shore.
Yeah.
But she said she heard someone screaming, "Someone please help me, I'm drowning."
No. So sad.
At around 11:30 at night. And they called for the harbor master, but nobody answered. And since there was a party nearby, she was like, well, maybe someone's joking. Like, they're just drunk and, like, swimming. And they'd be like, oh, I'm drowning. So they were like, I guess maybe it was a joke. And, like, nobody was answering.
So sad.
And then, you know how Wagner said he didn't want to call for help because he didn't want to draw attention to it? Mm-hmm. Well, he eventually did. In 2013, which is, 2 years later after Davern came out and said some shit.
Right.
Her cause of death was changed to drowning and other undetermined factors. And then 5 years after that, Wagner was declared a person of interest officially, though he's denied any involvement in it whatsoever. And then more recently, in 2020, Suzanne Fitzad revealed, and she wrote a book about this.
Okay.
To my recollection. I think that was one of my sources. We can check. But she said she found out that Dr. Michael Franco, who was just an intern at the coroner's office at the time, noticed abrasions on her legs in a direction that suggested she was being pushed off a boat, not trying to get on. And apparently the coroner at the time had told him some things are best left unsaid.
Wow. Way to do your job, buddy.
So he thinks there was like a cover-up.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like what's happened after, which is kind of,
That's
pushing
crazy.
you in a direction like it was not an accident.
Right.
Clearly. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about like her family, because her daughter wrote a memoir, her sister wrote a memoir, and her daughter wrote, which I thought was really cute, and it made me sad. She wrote, "My mother was my mirror. When I saw myself reflected in her, it was a self that was bigger and better and brighter."
Oh.
And I think that's cute. And Gregson, husband number 2, said, "I often think about the serendipity of our romance together."
Oh.
I think that's cute too. So, as far as like where they're at now, it's kind of sad too, because Natasha and Courtney, which is like,
Yeah. Her daughters.
like Natasha technically is like RJ's stepdaughter, but they don't think that he had anything to do with it.
Oh, they don't think so.
No, they're like, no, he would literally never do that. But Lana, Natalie's sister, thinks that he did.
Yeah.
She says, "I don't believe it was premeditated, but that doesn't mean I don't think he did it. Of course he did." So they're estranged. Natalie's sister does not see her nieces, which
that's really sad.
is kind of sad.
Well, and two, I feel like her sister was an adult, and children have a way of seeing the brighter side of things.
Yeah.
And they don't see that he could have been aggressive with her.
Yeah.
Like her sister probably did.
Yeah. And her sister said that she'd never really liked him that much, and thought that he was like really self-centered.
Right.
And she did, she was around a lot to see that more than...
I want to hear from Christopher Walken.
He's been pretty silent about it. He hasn't really said much of anything. He went with the story way back when about it being an accident, but if you believe what Davern said, since then, he went back to his cabin, so he probably doesn't really know anything.
Right.
But
he knows about the fighting and stuff.
Yeah, that's very true. So, briefly, I'm going to bring up just like something random.
Okay.
Because, call back to episode 1, the poltergeist curse.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the rebel without a cause curse, kind of?
I mean, no, but I know James Dean died, like, right after. I mean, he was in a car accident. Mm-hmm. But he also raced cars.
Yes.
Like crazy.
Yes. So a lot of the cast of Rebel Without a Cause had died.
Oh, wow.
And so, obviously, we already talked about Natalie, but yeah, James Dean played Jim Stark. Mm-hmm. And he also played, have you ever heard of Giant?
Yeah, I've seen that too. It's a long movie, but it's good.
Yeah, so he was kind of filming those around the same time, and both Giant and Rebel Without a Cause released after he had died.
Okay, yeah.
So he died in a car accident. A month before Rebel Without a Cause came out, he was driving his Porsche to road races.
Yep.
And he was involved in a head-on accident at the intersection of 2 highways in a rural area.
Well, there's a part in Rebel Without a Cause where he plays chicken with another car. Yeah,
I read about that.
Yeah.
And he was rushed to the hospital but pronounced dead on arrival.
Wow.
He suffered like broken bones and lacerations, but he broke his neck.
Yeah.
And that's what killed him.
Yeah.
And he was only 24. And do you know Sal Menino?
No.
He played John Crawford in Rebel Without a Cause.
I don't know the names well enough.
He I think, met him at the jail.
Okay.
He dies in the movie in a police standoff. Does that help?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He received a nomination for that role, and he received a nomination later in his career for his role in Exodus. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I don't know that one.
But his career kind of faded afterwards. I wanted to bring up that he was, in 1972, he came out as bisexual, and that made him one of the first prominent figures to do so. So
well, good for him.
Kind of
that's
cool.
Awesome.
Especially in the 70s.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That's it. 2020, people are shitty about stuff like that.
So. True.
But in 1976, he was stabbed to death by a mugger and died from his wounds. He was 37.
Wow.
His mugger received a 50-year prison sentence for 10 robberies and his death, which was ruled second-degree murder. And then you know Nick Adams?
No.
He played Chick.
Sounds familiar, but it's been a while since I've seen it.
That's fair. Well, he later played in a TV series called The Rebel, which was a Western that he co-created, and he also got an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor in Twilight of Honor. Have you heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. But his body was actually found in his home on February 7th, 1968, and it was believed to be a drug overdose, but no pills were found, and like some of his prized possessions were stolen. So his death certificate changed like multiple times over the years, from like homicide, suicide, undetermined. So they don't really know.
Oh, that's weird.
How he died.
Did they do an autopsy?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Maybe. I'm not sure. It just says circumstances unclear. Do you know Jim Backus?
No.
Okay. He played in Gilligan's Island.
Okay, who do you play in Gilligan's Island?
He played Thurston Howell III.
No, okay. I have no idea.
I think he was like a voice.
Okay.
Whatever. He played Frank Stark in Rebel Without a Cause, so James Dean's character's father.
Okay.
And he died after many years of suffering from Parkinson's disease.
Mm-hmm.
And then, do you know Corey Allen?
No.
God, you're doing so well.
I know the big star.
He played the villain in Rebel Without a Cause.
Okay.
Buzz.
Yeah.
He also passed away from Parkinson's disease. And then, do you know William Hopper?
No.
He played Judy's father.
Okay.
He had a stroke and died when he was only 55.
Wow.
Yes. And then...
This is more of a curse than the Poltergeist
And then,
curse.
do you know Edward Platt?
No.
Okay, he played Inspector Ray, the cop.
Okay.
Ever wrote that
Yeah.
across? He died in 1974, and they said it was a heart attack, but his son later revealed that he had killed himself.
Oh.
And do you know Dennis Hopper?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that was his first role,
Mm-hmm.
and had a legendary career afterwards, and then he died from prostate cancer at 74. So some of these I feel like are kind of like, okay, Parkinson's disease, prostate cancer, but you had
Right.
long lives, so I don't know if you can really attribute it to like a curse, but like...
A lot of them.
But like James Dean, Natalie Wood, Sal
Right.
Menino, Nick Adams, and then they
Dennis Hopper died in 2010.
yeah, he died old. He was 74.
Oh, he was. I thought you said he died in 74. I was like, wait a minute.
No, he died at 74.
I was like, I'm pretty sure
Sorry.
he plays the bad guy in Speed.
No, he died in
And that was
at
in
the
90s.
age of 74.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
so some of those I do feel are like, I don't know if you can attribute that. If it's an old movie, a lot of the actors are going to die in it. But the fact that James Dean died
Right.
before it came out,
Yeah.
Natalie Wood, and like Sal Menino died in 76. I
Yeah.
mean, like, so yeah, I kind of thought that was a little bit wild
It's
because
crazy.
that's a lot coming from one movie.
That is a lot.
So that's all I have.
That was good.
Are you sure?
That was interesting.
Are you sure?
I am positive.
Okay.
I don't know. Ask Alex. He fell asleep.
I know. It's not a good sign. I also have a lot of sources that I'm going to link in the show notes because, again, there's a lot of, like, memoirs, biographies,
Yeah.
the podcast that I talked about. There's a lot.
So if you're interested in like old Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, and it's, like, it's not just written by, like, randos, all of them, too. Like,
right.
Like, her sister wrote one. Like,
Yeah.
her daughter wrote one. Like, it's coming from people who knew her. So
Right.
that makes it a little bit
Valid.
more interesting than just somebody who didn't even know who
Right.
she was. So
It's true.
all that I have.
That was really good. I really liked it.
I know you like old movies.
I
so
do.
I kind of thought you might like it.
That was really interesting for me.
So you're going to tell me if you think that RJ pushed her off the boat.
I think he did.
I do too.
I don't think he like planned on it.
No.
I think it was one of those like moments of passion where you're so pissed off about something and you just
And he's alive, so don't sue us.
yeah.
But
Just allegedly.
But
we're not saying it actually happened.
Allegedly, you are kind of old, so if you're going to do a deathbed confession, I feel like it would really help, people who loved her to know the truth. So, show a little bit of compassion and admit it. Allegedly. If you didn't do it, I'm really sorry. But I kind of feel like you definitely did.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no reason to think she would get on a dinghy when she was terrified of water.
There's no way.
Especially when you think about the fact the night before when they got into a fight and she wanted to go to shore, she asked the captain to take her.
Right.
She wouldn't go by herself.
Especially, like, she was scared of water, and then she had that incident where she almost drowned when she was little that added to that fear. So not only was it just, like, an unfounded fear, then she's like, well, I will die in the water. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and an added little note.
There's no way.
An added little note is that her sister did also say she didn't go anywhere not made up. Like, if she wanted to go to shore, she would have put on a full face of makeup and gotten dressed and gone to shore.
Right.
She would have gone in the nightgown with no shoes on and no makeup on.
Right.
Like, she just wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't think there's any reason to think she would have tried to get on a dinghy by herself.
Right.
And then that witness that heard somebody saying, help me, I'm drowning.
Yeah. It's just like, she would, like, get dressed and stuff, but even if that were the case, why would somebody not get dressed? Because they were scared for their life, right?
Right.
So, either way, I feel like he was threatening.
True. So you're saying even if she happened to be getting in a dinghy, it would be because she thought she was in imminent danger of him doing something. Yeah. So she was like, I got to get out of here.
So she was scared.
And that would still make him kind of responsible if he was scaring her enough to try to get off that fast.
Exactly.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, definitely. And he's old now, so deathbed confessions are a thing. And even if it was an accident,
John
RJ.
Wilkes Booth, he did a deathbed confession.
Or 5 or something. He did a couple of them. I don't know. All right. Well, that's all I have. So should we?
You go ahead. Start.
I wanted to say thank you to so many people.
So many.
Because this opening week has been really fun. I don't know. I just get texts sometimes of people being like, oh, I'm listening to your podcast. Or my friend Jenna texted me 2 long paragraphs of a review that was very nice and constructive criticism. Not even that much criticism, just that we bantered too much, which we do sometimes.
Yeah. I think any feedback is always welcome if you listen to us.
Yeah. I love feedback.
We appreciate it because it's only going to make us better, and we're all about this. So we appreciate everybody listening, and I love hearing from everybody.
Oh my God,
so keep it up.
I love it. So
I live
much.
for it.
Meara lives for the fact that everybody compliments her, goes out of their way to tell me how funny she is. I'm like, if anybody wants to compliment me, you can. I know I'm not as funny.
I just think it's so nice people think I'm funny.
You are funny. You are funny.
And my iconic laugh, apparently.
You gotta have something going for you. I guess it's good that that's what it is.
Right.
But no, yeah, so please, keep up everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Even if you're texting us and you know us and you want to tell us what you think, but if you don't know us, review us on iTunes, even slide into our Instagram DMs, be hey, I thought this was great, but you kind of sucked when you did this. Or if you know something we don't know, we said something that was incorrect.
We just had a constructive direct message in Instagram. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Someone told us that we should put our link in our bio on Instagram, which wasn't there.
I've been meaning to do that.
So I went ahead and did it.
Okay, well, I might edit
thank you for that. That was very good.
I might edit that because I've been meaning to do one of those link trees, that people do, where you can link to a bunch of stuff. Yeah. I've been meaning to do that, but that is very constructive.
So yeah, we love it, and we love you, and we hope you keep listening.
Yes, listen with this every Monday, unless Meara,
No, I'll do it.
Unless something crazy happens and she can't edit, but then I could try to learn to edit, so it would still probably be fine.
We're trying to keep it Mysteriosities Monday.
Yeah, I do love that.
So,
we love an alliteration.
We love an alliteration.
Perfect.
So, but yes, we love you all. Keep listening. Keep sharing with all your peeps.
Yeah, because we love to stalk all of the downloads.
We do. It's kind of become like a weird obsessive compulsive thing for me. I added it to my home screen, so I have my own little button that I just press.
That's a little much.
I like seeing the breakdown though of locations.
I love
and
looking
stuff.
at the location breakdown. Hey, if
really
you're
cool.
listening from Norway,
Yeah.
are you really, or are you a bot?
And Russia.
I think Russia is a bot.
And Canada.
Canada's not a bot. No, it could be a bot. Okay, you know what? Just tell me if you're a bot. If you're listening to this and you're
Interact with us is basically what we're saying.
tell me if you're from Norway, because I love that more than anything in my life.
And also, Hirsch needs to listen to more episodes.
Hirsch, I'm gonna no. You know what? He loves a shout out so much that I'm gonna tell him that you said that, and he's gonna listen to it. Let's stop.
Okay.
We've done too much.
All right.
Okay.
And we are.
Thanks for listening. And we are Mysteriosities.
Mysteriosities.
Oh, I got to do the